examples. We want to actually look back. Last week we talked about LastPass. We spent really half of the show talking about that breach and kind of the fallout from it, and I spent all the time since then updating passwords. But we did have a ton of comments from all of you on our YouTube post about that with some more information, some helpful insights and your own experiences. We wanted to kind of talk through a couple of them because there were a couple to kind of clarify some things we talked about. So Don, you pulled some of the best.
So, I grabbed a few things. The first thing I want to lead with is we did have a factual error in our reporting last time. I know that's never happened.
Just one? That's never happened.
Better.
Yeah.
So a couple of users, Sarbook was one, I think the first one that I noticed, Entwistle. There were a couple of other YouTube users that posted that in the LastPass disclosure, we had indicated that the usernames for accounts were unencrypted, and it turns out the usernames are actually encrypted. So I'll quote Sarbuck here where he said, the username field is encrypted, so that's something, but still not great. And your comments about phishing still very much apply. So it's a little bit better, I suppose. Your notes field, your password field, your username field is actually encrypted.
And would they have your email from another field potentially?
It's possible. A lot of websites are really good about not having your email or your username in the URL.
Yeah.
But any website that has it in the URL, the URL absolutely was in plain text, and so that one's a challenge.
Okay.
And we have some other comments in a minute here, which will tell you why. Like the phishing side of things is still very very possible. But yeah, so a little bit better, I guess.
Does it cost money to encrypt things, or what if you're going to encrypt some of it, you're going to be like, well, encrypt this stuff, but we can't afford to encrypt all the rest of the data in this file?
So normally, yes, you have to take CPU power to encrypt things, right? But in this case, LastPass always encrypts stuff on your own machine before you upload it.
So it's your own CPU power.
It's your own CPU. The problem, though, comes into how their plugin works, like their browser integration. They need to be able to match the URL to what's in the database and so on. And so they made the choice to speed things up by not encrypting that URL. That's a choice they made. They could have encrypted it. It wouldn't have been a bigger burden. But there you go. That's where we're at.
That's the corner they chose to cut.
Yep. Now, Sarbuck, he actually had another comment that is real important. I mentioned that I could not find out when the actual breach occurred, and LastPass has not gone out of their way to release it. Well, he found out that if you submit a support ticket to them, they'll actually tell you. So you have to ask for it. Otherwise, they're like, well, you never asked. So he found out, and they did reveal that it's actually worse than what I thought. I said the breach could have occurred as far back as November. The breach where they stole the vaults actually occurred on September 22nd. That means your vaults, if you're a LastPass customer, your encrypted vault has been in the hands of attackers for 3 months. And 3 months before LastPass came out and told you that.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Don, but that sounds bad.
That does sound bad, doesn't it?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I guess maybe they could make the argument, like with GDPR, where you're supposed to notify people in 3 days. They could make the argument that maybe it was written in European and they thought it was months.
Well, is it possible that they didn't know they were hacked?
It is possible. That would be a really bad look for them.
Yeah.
Especially with the other breach.
The average amount of time that it takes for a breach discovery is over 200 days.
Yep.
There you go. So they're under. Congrats, LastPass. You did it.
Good for them. But yeah, so that's bad. That certainly paints a bad picture for them. But 3 months, September 22nd, for those of you that, like me, that were wondering, big thank you to Sarbuck for providing that. There was another comment that came in, and this one I thought was really super interesting. Peter actually pointed this one out to me from user Anorax. I didn't look up what Anorax means, so
sounds like something from Ready Player One.
If you're having a hard time sleeping, Anorax might be right. Ask your doctor if Anorax is right for you.
Side effects are rare, but
include
but fatal.
Fatal. Yeah,
every time.
So he said, and I'll just quote
you'll be
him.
Part of that 30% that doesn't die.
He, unlike me, his iterations were at 100,100, the default. My iterations were at 6,120 for whatever reason. But he said, I ran my 12-character random LastPass master password, which had 100,100 iterations, on my RTX 4090. Apparently, Anorax has a lot of money.
Yeah.
So on his RTX 4090, using one of the better open source password crackers, and it cracked my LastPass password at the 63-hour mark. Complex master passwords are useless if the password vault gets stolen. So 63 hours on a, albeit expensive, consumer-grade video card, that's really telling. Right there.
What's 63 hours from September 22nd?
September 25th.
Do the math, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's when all my stuff.
Oh, yeah.
was lost. No, wait. My password was shorter than his.
So I mean, it does kind of bring up the point now is, do we now still consider a 12-character password complex and strong, or do we now bump it up?
Yeah. And depending on how it's stored, does that necessarily, well, I guess it does still matter.
Right. And if
yeah.
you're using a password manager to basically generate all your passwords, shouldn't you just set like a default of, 25?
Yeah, why not?
30, whatever the case
yeah.
is, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I was surprised to see that. I made the comment last week that if you were the attacker, if I was the attacker.
I know this is the master password, by the way. I'm just generally, yes. You have to create a good, strong password yourself for that.
And if you do a password phrase, that's really not a hard thing to do.
It's not a hard thing to do.
Yeah. But I made the comment that if I was the attacker and I had access to all these vaults, I'd be looking for the high value vaults, right? Yes. If I could find President Biden in there, right, then that's who I'm going to go for. I'm going to look for the high value targets. Or if there was a way to identify LastPass administrators, that kind of thing. Well, they probably did that 3 months ago. And so you fast forward to today, and that's when they're bored and just saying, here, I'll sell chunks of this on the dark web, and random people can try it. So even if you're a nobody like me, then you now become potentially vulnerable. So
that's fun.
Yeah, that's a good time.
Sad day.
And I need to get an RTX 4090 apparently. I wonder if I can make that a business expense. I needed it to benchmark.
Hey, listen, we do password cracking shows here at IT Pro.
What does something like that run? That's just the graphics card, right?
That's just the graphics card.
What does that run?
So you run, you might talk about money-wise or?
Yeah.
Oh, what are they running now?
A 4090, I think, creeps up close to $2,000. Yeah.
That's
the 4080 is $1,500.
What's the one I posted the article about that hackers were making it cheaper now?
I think that was the 4080.
Oh, okay.
So this one's even better. In my computer at home, I have a RTX 2060, so I'm a couple of generations behind. Apparently, I need to step up my game here. So if I'm the hacker, if I've stolen your passwords, don't worry, you got more time.
Yeah.
It's still running.
Yourself in the eye, Don, with that garbage in your machine.
Embarrassing.
It might be time to upgrade.
Yeah.
It just runs fine.
Yeah.
So there were some funny ones too that made.
So I did set aside some funny ones. There were a couple of comments that I liked. Mike Reese, I think, had one of my favorites where he said, SMH, FML, and I'm SOL with LastPass and every other abbreviation the kids use.
That'd be a good password, actually.
I'm not familiar with SMH.
So much hate.
No,
okay.
shaking my head.
Shaking my head?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was so much hate.
No, because then you'll see SMDH, which is shaking my dang head.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't make sense. So much dang hate. Well, I learned something new today, SMH.
You think LOL is lots of love?
It isn't?
Laugh out loud.
No, I saw a thing about like a woman's mother sent her, Aunt Patty died, LOL.
Wow.
So I thought that meant lots of love.
Yeah. My condolences, LOL.
Good to know.
Right?
I've been using it wrong all this time. But my absolute favorite, and I know when people submit on our website, we can send them swag. If we can figure out who this person is, we should send it. But it was a YouTube user, It's Only Me. Make it easy to track down who that is. Said that they're changing the company name. The new company name is LastPass, which I thought was pretty witty. Yeah,
I don't have the soundboard anymore, but so thank you for all of your feedback and educating us and each other on what's happened, and obviously it's something that we'll continue to stay on top of as new details do emerge.
If you enjoyed that segment, be sure to check out our entire podcast available in the playlist right here. And you can always subscribe to stay up to date with the latest tech news and other happenings in the IT world. Be sure to tune in every Thursday for new episodes. I hope to see you there.